Focus Point is a organization that helps us deal with crisis. So we're gonna put up a poll, and the question is: do you think you will encounter a crisis during the next 12 months in your ministry context? And Becky or Emily, I'll let you tell me when everyone's voted, and put up our.
It appears everyone has voted.
All right, let's drum roll. Let's see.
Can you see it, or do you need me to say it?
I can see. So 57% said yes, and 43% said no. You know, I thought about asking this question, and I would say up until about 6 months ago, I would have said no. But then, given everything that's happened around the world and in the U.S. and in different countries, I don't know what will happen next month, because it's there's so many things that are going on in our world, and sort of like Fernando said, there's oftentimes I take things for granted living in the U.S. I just feel like, you know, someone else will take care of it, or that would never happen here, but things can happen, and it's important to be prepared for that no matter where we are. I have a question for you. For those of you that have not been to the United States or to Tupelo, Mississippi, have you looked on a map to find out exactly where Tupelo, Mississippi is? You have, okay. A few of you have. So Tupelo, Mississippi is a small city. And you might have thought, how in the world can global outreach help me with a crisis from all the way around the world on a different continent, coming from this small area, this organization? How are they going to be able to help me? We've been able to develop some partnerships and some internal resources, some external resources that are able to do that. And John alluded to several of those, but I'm going to focus mainly on Focus Point. So Focus Point is our crisis management partner. Several of the things that they deal with are the things that John talked about as scene issues, the scene things. So my list here: violent crime, political threat, terrorism, hijacking, disappearance, search and rescue, blackmail, extortion, wrongful detention, kidnapping, natural disasters, pandemic, medical emergency, relocation, and evacuation. So there are things that we can help you with, and even may come and join you physically and be there present with you to help you with. But Focus Point has resources placed around the world in different areas, and other partnerships with companies around the world in countries where they can address specific problems that might be happening on the ground. So Focus Point is a company that we started working with in January. They're brand new to global outreach, and we've already partnered with them really fairly extensively just in the past few months since January. So they have been great to work with, and they've come through in many different cases to help us out and help our missionaries out. It's important to know who is eligible for Focus Point. John alluded to this in his presentation, or maybe Charlene did when she was talking about budgets and expenses. Missionaries, most of our missionaries do qualify for Focus Point. You have to be U.S. staff serving outside of the United States, a U.S. missionary serving outside of the United States, or a foreign national missionary serving outside of your home country. So, to boil that down, you can't be doing missions in your own country. The premise being, if you're in your own country, you should have your own resources and systems in place to be able to deal with those crisis situations. But if I'm traveling outside of the United States, I can be a part of the Focus Point program. If you are a missionary that lives in Macedonia, but you're serving in Bulgaria, then you can be a part of Focus Point. If you're in Bulgaria and you're serving in Bulgaria, you would not be a part of Focus Point. So I'm trying to be specific, but I think, does everybody understand how that would work? Okay. So we have a link to sign up for Focus Point, and to do that, you reach out to me and ask for that link, or if I am paying attention, which I like to think I usually am, I will send you a link and say, hey, I know you're about to launch to the field, and I need you to fill out this form so I can get you signed up for Focus Point. And it's a really short form, contact information. The cost is $14 per month for a single person and $17 per month for a family. No matter if you have 2 people or 15 people, that's the price for a family. So it's really inexpensive for all of the protection that you are able to receive. Going back to that list that we just looked at, there's a lot there that they're able to work with. So it's a really good service, and they work with a lot of missions organizations, and a lot of secular organizations too, not just us, to be able to provide these services. So the question then comes up, how do I access the crisis management services? Someone asked John, who should I contact if there's a crisis? Like, what do I do? And you want to start locally, and it really depends on the situation that you're in, because different situations may call for different types of responses. If you need the aid of Focus Point, if you need someone from Focus Point to help you, then you would contact the Crisis Response Center. We call it the CRC. They have a team of agents that are able to take your information and dispatch your particular issue to a team that can help resolve whether it's a medical relocation or evacuation or other type of situation. So there's one phone number, and you receive a small packet when you sign up for that gives you access to that number and some other details along with it. But you call the contact at the CRC, you give them the details of your situation, confirm your location and your contact information, because they need to be able to contact you by phone, and they need to know where you are currently, because you could be traveling or you could be outside of your normal ministry context. Then you always want to contact your country coordinator or your regional coordinator. Ultimately, you want to let Bob know, and depending on what the circumstance is, we want to make sure that we're taking, John may want to get involved. Different types of situations may call for different types of responses, but we want to make sure that whatever situation you're facing, that you're being taken care of. So I want to pause there for a second and see what kind of questions you might have. Fernando.
I would just ask a little more details, if it's possible, about the services. Like, we saw the situations like crisis, political crisis, kidnapping, all of this. They assist us or they help us, but in what extent? What that means? Like, they take us home. They, it's not a health insurance, I assume. So what are some examples that maybe, of course, when we want to have it, they will give you all the details, but just to have an idea if it's worth, doing that, or what kind of help, especially depending on the country you are. And
Sure. So that's a very good question. Each of the different circumstances has its own response. The the most used response is medical emergency, relocation, or evacuation. So I'll start with that one. Um, they will relocate you to the nearest. You have two options. If you need medical care that you can't get locally, they will relocate you to the nearest hospital that you can receive quality care, or they will bring you back to your home country to the hospital that is nearest to your home where you can receive quality care. That would be the relocation and evacuation portion. When the pandemic first broke out, before it was worldwide, they were relocating a lot of our missionaries back home, or to other countries where the pandemic had not spread to. This was before it was declared a pandemic. Eventually, at one point, once it was in virtually every country, there was nowhere to go, and they stopped relocating people because no matter where you went, you were in the same situation. But for a long time, they would relocate you. If it is a wrongful detention, they can send in translators, they can send in local legal professionals that can try to help you in those situations. I do want to underline that it is wrongful detention. If you're detained for breaking a law that is a real infraction against the local law, they're not going to get involved in that. It's wrongful detention. Blackmail and extortion, disappearances, they get involved with local resources that can help resolve those problems. They help coordinate those things. They have translators and people that are trained to help resolve those types of issues on the ground. If I was contacted by someone and they said that there was a kidnapping in Asia, which is an area that I would say China, which is a country that I'm very familiar with, I still wouldn't know how to respond to that. Although I've been to China frequently and I've spent a lot of time there, I still wouldn't specifically know how to handle a kidnapping in China. But Focus Point has resources that could help in dealing with those kinds of situations to help resolve them. There is no cost to you out of pocket to use the resources, so they pay for everything that they provide up front. If you have to be relocated on an airplane, they arrange the airplane, they arrange the crew, and they pay for that all up front. So does that give you a little more insight? Okay. Who else has a question or maybe a thought about some of the coverages or just some of the things in general? I feel that it is really helpful to have someone that you can call, and it's one number, and they can get you in touch with professionals to help you deal with a lot of different types of situations. It is difficult and overwhelming for me to think about how to try to deal with those things myself, and Focus Point can play a big part in when you're figuring out your crisis plan that we talked about earlier, that John talked about, writing down and making that plan. Focus Point can be a part of that. And who do I contact with questions? You can send me an email, mlacroix@globaloutreach.org, and I'm happy to answer your questions. And if I don't know the answer, I have people that I can contact to try to get the answer for you. So I promise I won't make it up. It'll be a good answer. I'll do my best to find the answer. There is another benefit that comes along with having Focus Point as a crisis management partner. They have an online portal that you get access to. It's a website. I'm going to stop sharing these slides and I'm going to start sharing a web page and show you what this website looks like just briefly. Nope. Okay, stop sharing. Sorry guys, I'm a newbie, I think. All right, I think you should be able to see that web page. Up at the top, it has a place where you can search for different countries. Can you see that? Good deal. All right. So this is a place that you can go and you can put in, you can search for any country, and it will have U.S. State Department alerts for that country. It has general information to think about when you're traveling. It has the number for the Crisis Response Center. It gives you an email to contact the Crisis Response Center if you are not able to phone them. It gives you emergency numbers for every for other countries. So let me So let's see, Brazil. So in Brazil for fire, do I call 193? Let's test it. Fernando, is that true? Good deal. All right. So if I was in Brazil and I had a fire incident, I could call 193. So those numbers are updated for each country because each country has different numbers. You can also put in different information about tracking your travel. So if you're going to be traveling to a place that is outside of your normal ministry context, you might want us to know about that. And aside from actually, you would want to contact your country coordinator, but you can also put that into your web portal, and that helps us to know where you are in case there is a situation. So if you are in an area and then there's a natural disaster, we would know I need to check on Catherine or I need to check on Alexander because he's traveling to this place and there's been this natural disaster. So there's some general information about each country and different things that can help you to know before you go, so to speak, before you travel. So a lot of things that you can learn and take advantage of in that web portal. So what kind of questions do you have? Focus Point is a really good tool that we have gotten a lot of really good feedback on, and we have enjoyed having them as a partner. So it's something that you hope you don't need, but you're really thankful for when it is there when you do need it. So really simple information that is also linked on our My Global site. we recently added a page that talks about crisis management, and we have a portion on there is talking about talking about Focus Point, and we're going to be adding more materials to do with crisis management in that report. So, or in that section on My Global. So we're still working on that, but that's something that we're trying to develop, because crisis can happen anytime, and we typically don't expect it, but it can happen at any time. But if you have questions, you can always let me know. If you ever have an issue, big or small, you can always contact anybody on staff and we'll get you to the right person. So you don't have to worry about who should I contact. You can always contact us and we'll get you to the right person. So, Becky?
One question, Marshall, is if missionaries are eligible for Focus Point, is that a requirement for missionaries if they're eligible? Is it something they need to have?
That's a good question. It is something that is a requirement. If you're eligible, which most of our missionaries are, we do require that as part of keeping you safe. It's relatively low cost and and it's high value for what we get. Draghi?
How is it paid? Through our global accounts or through our credit cards?
It's deducted from your global account as an expense. So you would see that each month as a deduction from your global account.
On our budget, does that fall under our health insurance or is that separate?
It does not fall under your health insurance, but it is a ministry expense. I think that you guys have some really good questions, and I am thankful that I was able to talk with y'all for a little bit. I've been able to interact with some of you more than others, but the more that I get to interact with you, it's really good. So anytime you need anything, whether it's related to HR or not, let me know, and I'll point you to the right person. Draghi, did you have another question? Yeah.
Yes, one more question. Is this just package just for example, for me, for Bulgaria, while I'm in Bulgaria serving? Or for example, I'm on a short mission trip, for example, I don't know, in Africa somewhere, for example, it's also a package for that short mission trip?
It will follow you anywhere in the world as long as you're outside of your home country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it follows you anywhere that you go. That's a good question.
I'm not sure if you can answer now or maybe later one-on-one, but I have a situation which is I have been in Spain for 20 years. I have dual citizenship. My two daughters were born in Spain. So we have Spain as our country, but I'm from Brazil, missionary from Brazil to Spain. But in terms of crisis and stuff, I don't think I want to go anywhere because Spain is kind of home now for me. I don't know if it will be in the future, but as for now is. So it's just a matter of, I'm not sure because I have a crisis here. I am kind of in my home country, but I'm not from here, but I have the citizenship and been here for 20 years. So you know what I'm saying?
I do. In your situation, you could be a little bit flexible, but I think that because you have citizenship in Spain and that is your primary residence, that is where they're going to call your home. If you do you have a home in Brazil as well, or do you just have a primary residence in Spain?
Yeah, it's in Spain. I have my family, my parents and my brothers in Brazil. I go there to see them, to visit churches. But when I think about home, is here. You know, that's where I have my house. That's where I do everything. And
If you didn't have citizenship in Spain, I would say that Brazil would be your home because that's your country of citizenship. But because you have citizenship in Spain, that's probably going to be your primary residence. I will say though, even if you don't qualify for Focus Point, most of the time when you're doing ministry, say Fernando for you, when you travel to Brazil, if you wanted that coverage, you could sign up for Focus Point for like 2 months. So there's not a time commitment. So the way that would work is I would have to have you signed up before. So like if you were going to travel in March of the year, I would have to enroll you in February of the year. So the month prior to when you were going to travel, I would have to enroll you. It could not be during the same month you were going to travel. So that's how we would do that at the home office. So when I travel overseas, if I know that I'm going to travel in April, I will enroll in March so that I will be covered in April. So. Any other questions? Thoughts? Good, bad, ugly?
So is it the same, for example, we've traveled our missionary team from other countries, including North Africa, and we plan to keep and expand our ministry partnerships even in the States. So when we travel abroad for these ministry purposes, if the situation is the same, so we should sign for several months. Focus Point.
Yes. If you're traveling outside of Bulgaria, which is your home country, then you could sign up for a Focus Point. If you're going to North Africa or if you're coming to the US, then you could sign up for Focus Point. That is a very good distinction. And it's not one that we talk about very much because it doesn't apply in a lot of circumstances, but it is available in that way.